All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our regular council meeting for Monday, February the 10th. We do seem to be having a slight technical issue just in terms of our streaming capability. So I know staff is going to continue to work on that. But it may be that those who are trying to watch this live are going to have some difficulties doing so. In any event, the meeting will be recorded and will be posted to the YouTube channel, so it will be available to watch, maybe just not live. Hopefully we can get that rectified. Anyways, we'll call the meeting to order at 6:31, and we will begin, as we always do, with the playing of the national anthem. We would like to begin by respectfully acknowledging that the town of Shelburne resides within the traditional territory and ancestral lands of the Anishinaabe, including the Ojibwe, Potawatomi, Chippewa, and the people of the Three Fires Confederacy. These traditional territories upon which we live, work, play, and learn are steeped in rich Indigenous history and traditions, and it is with this statement that we declare to honor and respect the past and present connection of Indigenous peoples with this land, its waterways, and resources. Just the standard reminder to members to declare any pecuniary interest that you may have. Don't see anybody volunteering at this point, so if something does come up, please feel free to do so at the appropriate time. On to our minutes from the January 27th meeting. There was one correction that was made. Resident Randa James, I believe her name was misspelled, but Deputy Clerk has made that change in her copy. Other than that, the minutes are as they appear in the agenda. Can I have a mover and seconder to approve those? Moved by Councillor Sample, seconded by Councillor Fegan. Any discussion on those? No, all in favor? It's carried. Public question period. Were there any questions submitted, or is anybody online? Doesn't look like it. No, okay. All right. The first presentation, which was to be from PC Jeff McLean regarding the polar plunge for Special Olympics, has been canceled. PC McLean was at County Council at our last meeting, and I think that's the plan. He was just going to delegate there and then wanted us to spread the word. So the same event is on Family Day Monday for those who are able to attend. It's always a lot of fun. Not sure if I'm going to take the plunge yet or not this year. I haven't decided, but we'll see. Next up is the proclamation for Congenital Heart Defect Awareness Day, which is on February 14th. Whereas 1 in 70 newborns in Ontario are born with a type of congenital heart defect, CHD, making it the #1 birth defect and cause of death from a birth defect. There are 35 known types of congenital heart defects, and many babies will undergo unimaginable interventions in the first few hours of their lives due to CHD. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Wade Mills, on behalf of council, do hereby proclaim, excuse me, February 14th, 2025 as Congenital Heart Defects Awareness Day and encourage everyone to learn more about CHD and what they can do to help. All right, council inquiries. Councillor Wagner.
Yes, thanks so much, Mayor Mills. Just a quick one here for Jim. The KTH ice rink, do we normally create sort of like a pathway from the parking lot to the ice rink, or clear out a little kind of way or something like that for people to sort of access it? I did see on Facebook this afternoon that somebody was saying it's difficult to get from the parking lot over to the rink. The snow's quite high. As you know, we've been receiving quite a bit of snow in the last little bit. I did reply already and say that, obviously town staff's priorities right now are sidewalks, walkways, and hydrants, right? Fire hydrants, and removing boulevard snow and things of that nature. But just, I did say that I would ask if we normally do that or if we can.
Yes, through your worship. Staff have been focused on removing the snowbanks. We did have a contractor in as well, along with a couple of contract trucks to blow everything down to try and get ready for the next dump of snow that we got coming in midweek, and then another, from what we understand, another shot on the weekend. So priority-wise, as Councillor Wagner has mentioned, Parks and Rec didn't really have that priority there. In past years, since I've been around the last 7 or 8 years, there hasn't been a need for it. Staff did see the social media posts today, as well as about the dog park. So they have been over and actually run a trail from the parking area to the rink over at KTH, and as well cleaned up the dog park so people could get in through the gates, that sort of thing. So
amazing. Perfect. Thank you so much. Please extend my appreciation to town staff.
On that note, I'll just mention too, Jim. I had a conversation with somebody last week. Doesn't live in Shelburne, but works in Shelburne, and I guess travels through 2 or 3 other municipalities on his way to work every morning, and commented on the fact that he gets here quite early, and he commented on the fact that he's always impressed to see how early our crews are out and how clear the roads and streets are within the town of Shelburne, because that isn't the experience he has through the other communities that he travels on his way here. So pass that along for what it's worth as well.
Will do. Thank you.
If I can just add to that too.
Sample?
Yeah, if I can just add, thank you. I've had a lot of response coming from a number of townspeople on what a good job you guys are doing with the sidewalks and the roads. They're very impressed, and they want to thank you guys for all your hard work and effort that you guys are putting in. Very good. Thank you.
Anybody else? Councillor Guichardi.
You're muted.
Oh, you're muted.
Sorry, there you go. Works better now. I just wanted to invite the public to our Black History Month celebration on February 22nd at 2 p.m. At Grace Tippling Hall. The doors are opening at 1:30, and we will have presentations from Tracy Lee and from Joy Akanami. So it looks like it's going to be a good event, so come on out. And some other good news, BIA will be doing the Best Burger in the Burn Challenge again this year. Stay tuned for more information as that happens.
Perfect. All right. Anybody else? No? Okay. All right. So we'll move on to our first report, which is a verbal report from our CAO regarding the Fiddle Park plan. So, Denise.
Thanks, Mayor Mills. So the last time we reviewed what we were doing for phase 1 as a component of the 2025 approved budget, we had included the project list. I think everybody is following currently the literal back and forth on the implementation of tariffs. and the potential retaliatory positions that Canada and other countries will take. As Council probably appreciates, a significant component of many of our park projects come from the United States. While they may be represented by Canadian firms as the supplier, the manufacturing in many cases is done in the States. At the same time, we're following fairly closely the value of our Canadian dollar and its purchasing impacts during this process. So for that reason, the project team for Fiddle Park has been meeting frequently, and we looked at what our project costs are and our original estimates, and I'm going to focus on solely and exclusively on the mini putt. This was based on an American company, and those prices were converted to Canadian dollars for both the purchase and the installation. And we feel that with the situation we're in right now and how uncertain we are, that it would be strategic and financially responsible to remove that component of the project at this time and defer it until future review can be completed so that we can repurpose the $250,000 that was allocated to that project predominantly to ensure that the playground is not jeopardized, and probably taking from $100,000 to $125,000 of that and realigning it if required, and also protecting that money for contingency for other costs that we anticipate may increase. If they don't, fantastic. We will come back to council as we have you consider anything with respect to phase 2. But that's certainly just an FYI at this point. To let you know where we're landing with the project, because we certainly don't want to proceed with an RFP and other initiatives, knowing that those costs may be uncontrollable for us. We'll protect the space, obviously, it'll remain green space, and then reconsider what would be potentially funded in phase 2. Obviously, the majority, if not exclusively all of phase 2 right now is unfunded. So we would have to most likely create a very strong business case that it would make sense to be a standalone operation. So that's really my update. I just wanted to share that with council, and I'm happy to take any questions. We do anticipate, as we did before, I'll just add, our start date is looking like June 2025, with a wrap up by hopefully mid to end of November 2025.
Okay. All right. Any questions for Denise? No. Okay. Can I have a motion then to receive the verbal report as presented? Councillor Sample, seconded by Deputy Mayor Hall. All in favor? That's carried. All right. Second report is just council's remuneration statement from the treasurer. Carrie, was there anything you want to go over there? That this is a legislative requirement, I think, isn't it?
Yes, thank you, through the mayor. It is a requirement under the Municipal Act. I don't need to speak to it unless council has any questions. It is an annual standard report that I think you're all used to seeing.
And it is posted on the website somewhere, isn't it? So it's easily accessible or not?
I don't think it is. No.
No?
It's
Okay.
just it is in the agenda package. So,
Okay. Yeah. So it's part of the public record at least. So, okay.
yes.
Okay. Any questions on that? No. Can I have a mover and seconder then to receive that report for information? Councillor Guichardi, seconded by Councillor Wagner. All in favor? That's carried. All right. Next is a request from the Shelburne Public Library asking us to waive some fees for March break. So it looks like the total amount requested comes out to $605.23. Councillor Bonato.
The motion currently reads that it be received. I would like to see it be so that the public library approved, so the public library can actually have the funding, or sorry, the Grace Stickman Hall for that time period. It's something for the kids. It is during break, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, March break.
March break. So, and the kids are out and need to have some activities for them, and it looks like they're good activities. So, I'm willing to put forward that the motion that it be approved.
Okay, so we'll, Councillor Fegan, are you seconding that? Okay, so we'll just change the motion that we receive the request for information and the council approve the request. It's moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion on that? All in favor? That's carried. That was moved by Bonato, seconded by Fegan. All right, councillor motions. I do have, or sorry, notices of motion. I do have one. Is there anybody else that has anything for tonight? No? Okay. Mine's a little lengthy, so I'll apologize in advance, but I'll read it out here and then I'll ask for a seconder. Whereas the threat of tariffs imposed by the United States on Canadian goods remains open and unsettled, and whereas federal and provincial leaders have encouraged Canadians to support Canadian businesses, and whereas municipalities have significant purchasing power, but have traditionally been prevented from giving preference to Canadian suppliers, now therefore be it resolved, the Council calls upon the federal and provincial governments to remove any barriers allowing municipalities from preferring Canadian companies for capital projects and other supplies, and the Council also calls upon the federal and provincial governments to take immediate action to remove trade barriers between provinces, and the Council encourages the County of Dufferin, through the Community Development and Tourism Department, to develop a framework to support local businesses, including a Buy Local campaign that identifies and promotes local products and services, and the Council requests staff to review existing procurement policies and applicable laws to determine if there are any existing mechanisms to allow the town of Shelburne to offer a preference to Canadian companies for capital projects and other supplies, and be it further resolved that copies of this resolution be sent to the Right Honourable Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, the Honourable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, the Honourable Melanie Joly, Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Honourable Vic Fedeli, Minister of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade, the Honourable Paul Calandra, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, our local MP and MPP, the County of Dufferin, the Dufferin Board of Trade, and all Ontario municipalities for their support. Given the timeliness of it, I would like, if possible, to consider this tonight. So I guess we would need a seconder first, and then see if there are any objections to considering it tonight. Councillor Gachardi, are you seconding?
I'll second that motion. Yep.
All right. And then, yeah, are there any objections to voting on this tonight? No, don't see any. Okay. I do think, sorry, Alice, I would like to do a recorded vote just so that if it is unanimous, we can say that. I think it may carry a bit more heft.
Okay. Did you want to let Councillor Wagner speak first?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Councillor Wagner.
Thank you so much. Just a quick little question, I guess, regarding the bottom part of that with procurement. What does that mean for costing for us? You know, when we put out our bids and things of that nature, and we're looking at the lowest, you know, going usually with the lowest bid, does that now mean that, you know, if a sort of an American run company or owned company comes in that's lower than a Canadian company, that we're okay with going with the higher cost? I just wasn't sure how that part of it worked. I mean, I completely support everything, obviously, but that was where I was just like, how does that affect our costing now, or what we go with?
So a couple of things that I may rely on Denise or Carrie to step in as well. In terms of the current landscape, quite frankly, I don't think there is much under the current policy framework that allows us to provide any preference for Canadian companies. And that's why kind of the front end of the motion is to ask the feds and the province to address that. I do think our procurement policy does speak to the fact that we don't necessarily have to go with the lowest bid.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right, Carrie?
Under certain circumstances, yes.
So, I mean, you know, I think proposals tend to be judged on a number of factors. So, yeah. But the short answer is I think right now there isn't much under current policy that allows us to provide any preference to Canadian companies anyways. Carrie?
Correct. Yes, I was just going to follow up with what you just said. Yeah.
Okay.
Our policy does follow the Municipal Act, the Public Procurement Trade Agreement, the Discriminatory Business Practices Act. And right now, you cannot choose just based on local preference.
Okay. Okay, because that's kind of what I thought. Like I wasn't sure. So I guess the first part of that motion makes sense, obviously, to allow for that, but I wasn't sure. So I just wanted to make sure that I kind of asked that. But yeah, okay. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. I think we're good, Alice.
Okay, so a recorded vote has been requested. Deputy Mayor Hall,
Yes.
Councillor Bernardo,
Yes.
Councillor Fegan,
Yes.
Councillor Gucciardi,
Yes.
Councillor Sample,
Yes.
Councillor Wagner,
Yes.
Mayor Mills,
Yes.
and that passes unanimously.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. So we have a county council meeting on Thursday night, so I'm sure this will be discussed in some more detail there, but at least our request to the county to do something in terms of a local framework can then be brought forward at that point. On to communications. Anything in that list that Councillor Gucciardi?
Yeah, I'd like to speak to, I believe it's number 5, communications from the ministry in regard to our application for wastewater sewage upgrade grant. I'll just read the key, most important parts here. Writing to provide you with an update in regard to your application. Your project was not approved for funding. That's our message we got from the province on our bid to have our wastewater treatment plant updated. Bill 212, which is the Build More Houses Act, kind of flies in the face of this decision because they want us, on one hand, they want us to build 1,000 new houses, and on the other hand, province isn't willing to help us achieve that. And I mean, there are other ways of doing this, but I'm not comfortable in burdening the taxpayer or adding a levy to our water bill to help us achieve the goals of a province that doesn't support us. So I would be dead against supporting any of that direction. I just think it's kind of hypocritical that on one hand they want us to develop, and on the other hand they're unwilling to help us in that regard. And I think we should need to put a moratorium on development until such time as they see the light. And this is just kind of it's just baffling. And that's kind of what I have to say on that one. It's really disappointing.
Yeah, I share your disappointment, and I made some similar comments at the Board of Trade breakfast last week. I mean, in effect, we do have a moratorium on development as it stands, just because we don't have any more allocation that we can give out. And I mean, as far as I'm concerned, our position on this remains the same, that, yes, we're prepared to grow, but only to the extent that the province is prepared to invest in our infrastructure to support that growth. So, to your point, Councillor Gucciardi, I'm not keen, and I don't think anybody, on this council is keen to support growth on the backs of our existing taxpayers. So if the province isn't prepared to make those infrastructure improvements, then there won't be any further development in the town of Shelburne. And we've made that clear to the province on a number of occasions, and I don't know how much clearer we can be. Denise, when is the next round open up for this funding stream?
I think it's February 14th that it opens, and we'll be submitting for our third round. I should note that we've also submitted to a federal application. It's a different formula, and that one would require us to come back and ensure that we had $10 million of developer contributions. But we'll certainly keep council posted on how that one goes. We'll be submitting again the same requests that we submitted for the first two intakes, because our need has not changed. If anything, it may increase. I think Carrie can better address that. We're of the understanding that almost the majority, if not all of it, these kinds of waste treatment plants are exclusively built in the United States. And those firms are traditionally the only ones that are in this industry with respect to the technologies that we're looking at. So that was another reason why the dropping in the dollar and tariffs are also of significant concern to us.
Carrie, is there anything you wanted to add?
I'll add that for the federal grant that we've applied for, the funding is 50-50. So we would have to come up with more than the share had we received the provincial grant. So I don't know how we will pay for that, but we'll wait and see if we're successful or not. With both governments in the middle of elections, everything's kind of on hold for now anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, the only other thing I'll point out that I found a little bit disappointing with this as well is when you look through the list of communities that were successful with this stream. I mean, there were several in the very close vicinity to us. Southgate received funding, Clearview received funding, Erin received funding. Town of Shelburne did not, obviously, and Town of Grand Valley, I believe, applied as well and was not successful. So for whatever reason, Dufferin County was shut out from this round of funding, which is kind of interesting. But Councillor Bonato?
Quick question to Denise and Carrie. With the dollar dropping and the potential for tariffs, when we apply for these grants, are we re-estimating the costs that we may be incurring?
At this time, the grants were submitted based on not having those impacts known to us, and we don't have the ability with one already closed to make those adjustments. Whether or not we can, I guess, in play right now, we'd have to talk to SBA. We are already asking for what we believe is a significant amount of money, but to your point, Walter, or Councillor Bonato, certainly that would have an impact on our capacity to fund it. So I'll let Carrie explain it more so if she needs to.
No, I think you've got it all. That the way that the deadlines ran, we didn't know, we still don't know, right? what it's going to, how it's going to affect. And we've said all along, even when we go to RFP, even before the trade talks started, we don't know what the RFPs are going to come back at. We're estimating, but when you look at Collingwood's situation, theirs came back 3 times as high, and that was 2 years ago. So we won't know until that RFP is issued, and if that ever happens.
Yeah. I think one thing we can be sure of, the longer we wait, the more expensive it's going to get.
Yeah, and that's my fear. And not only that, the fact is that sooner or later we're still going to be borrowing or doing something of that nature to pay for it, because with these unknown costs and the potential for RFPs to be beyond the estimated costs and the grant, it still falls back on us in some form or way to pay the difference.
Yeah. Denise?
I just wanted to clarify that if we continue to apply and we continue to be unsuccessful, and to echo what some of you have already said, we will as staff need to suggest or recommend that we halt. And that what we need to then do is revert to what we've outlined in a number of staff reports, is the remediation and the repair, which was estimated to be about $15 million to comply with some of the ministry directives, and then reassess the expansion when it can be funded or when it makes sense strategically to reinstate that process. And to echo what you've already said, what that means is that the development plans in the West would not continue to proceed, and there would be a halt on that.
Basically a halt on everything.
Yeah. Carrie?
And I did send out last week an email to council about the level of service questionnaire that we've put out to the public. And that was partly to assist us with our long-term planning and our asset management planning. But the last question on that survey, and I don't know if any of you had an opportunity to do it yet or not, does ask the public their opinion on how to move forward with the waste pollution control plant should we not get any funding. So there is an opportunity for the public to weigh in on their thoughts on that questionnaire as well.
Yeah. Well, and the only other thing I would add, if members of the public are watching or press, we are in the middle of a provincial election cycle, and there is going to be an all candidates debate in Shelburne. Forget the exact
20th.
date. 20th? Yeah.
February 20th, yeah.
Yeah, February 20th at 7 p.m. in Grace Tippling Hall. So, I mean, that may be a question that could be posed to the candidates. All right. Anything else on the communications list? No. Okay. Can I get a motion then to receive those items for information? Councillor Sample, second by Councillor Bonato. All in favor? It's carried. All right. Motion for the confirming bylaw. Councillor Bonato, seconded by Councillor Wagner. All in favor? Carried. And a motion to adjourn. Councillor Bonato, seconded by Councillor Sample. All in favor? Carried. All right. Thank you all. Stay warm and hunker down on Wednesday.